The first Chicago police officer to be fatally shot in the line of duty in 2 years sets off a host of behind-the-scenes fights. Here with all that and more is our Spotlight Politics team. Joining us tonight, our WTTW News reporter Matt Masterson, who's been covering the killing of police officer Ella French, plus our Heather Cherone and Amanda Vinicky. Good to see all of you. I'll start with you, Matt. More and more details come out about that night and about that shooting. What is the latest we know about exactly what led up to the death of that police officer?
So this was a traffic stop that happened on Saturday night. Officer French and 2 other officers pulled over a SUV just for expired plates. It seemed like it was going to be a routine traffic stop, and it erupted very quickly into some chaos, according to the prosecutors who outlined this in a bond hearing yesterday. After they pulled over the SUV, they got the 3 occupants, Amante Morgan, his brother Eric Morgan, and a woman who was there, out of the car. And then Amante apparently started resisting. He had a drink in his hand and a phone in his hand and started getting into a bit of a physical struggle with one of the male officers. His brother Eric Morgan then started to run away and was chased by another officer. And as Officer French came around to help with the struggle that was going on between Amante Morgan and the officer, Amante allegedly pulled out a gun and fired and shot both of them. One was obviously, Officer French was fatally wounded. The other officer was critically wounded, and he's still in critical condition as far as we know. But that's the latest details that we've gotten out of bond court yesterday.
And reportedly, Heather, the parents of both officers had harsh words for the mayor. Obviously, it's an emotional time for those families. What do you know about what kinds of words were exchanged?
Well, when Mayor Lightfoot went to the emergency room where both Officer French and her partner were taken, she attempted to approach Officer French's partner to express her condolences when the partner's father, who is a retired CPD officer, we understand, really sort of laid into her and blamed her specifically for his son's injuries and the death of Officer French. It was a very heated conversation. And then the mayor left, and then at some point, quickly before she addressed the news media, a group of 10 to 15 officers pointedly turned their back to her, really symbolizing the huge breach that the death of Officer French has really illuminated between the police department and Mayor Lightfoot, who is really being pushed on all sides on police issues.
Although you heard the Alderman Carlos Ramirez-Rosa try to make the point earlier that she's been more pro-police than anti-police. Amanda Vinicky, how bad are relations between the police department and the mayor, and has it been this bad before?
I mean, they are certainly incredibly fractured, as you see from the turning of the backs. That's obviously high emotion at this point in time. I think you can see it not just through that, through these prolonged extracted contract talks that are finally coming to fruition. But then again, that was also something we saw under Lightfoot's predecessor with Mayor Rahm Emanuel, unable to reach an agreement with the Fraternal Order of Police. Things have certainly become heated, not just in Chicago, but across the nation, while Alderman Ramirez-Rosa, again, I mean, I think you hear it right there, says she's been more pro-police. There are certainly a whole lot of organizations, groups that would say, hey, no, she hasn't defended the blue anywhere near enough, while there are calls to completely defund the police department. So she really is, I think, in a sense, in a no-win situation with this one. And certainly with a tragedy like this, there is no win.
But I have to say, you know, an observation here is a lot of times she's been the only thing standing in the way of some of the folks that want to defund the police because, you know, she's saying more funding for the police, and they're criticizing the funding level that she has supported for the Chicago Police Department. There's also debate about what happened to the bagpipers for Officer French's salute. Let's take a look at what the mayor had to say.
My understanding is there was no official honor guard that night. There was, I'm going to choose my words carefully, I think well-meaning, but not well-organized group that wanted to hijack the procession, which would have meant that the family would have been delayed exponentially in getting to the morgue.
And we have some video that the CPD tweeted of that procession. And while we look at that, Heather, I'll ask you, the medical examiner, as Alderman Beal said earlier, said there was no violation of any COVID protocols. So what's the disagreement here?
Well, it's really not clear why there was not the ritual that greets the death of every officer who has died in the line of duty, dating back through, human memory in Chicago. Bagpipes play and honor guard processes. And it's not clear why First Deputy Eric Carter called it off. And there's radio chatter of him saying to just bring Officer French's body into the medical examiner without waiting for that honor. And it's not clear why. Today, the mayor did suggest that it was due to protocols in place by the medical examiner's office. The medical examiner denies that. She says there was no change to stop the spread of COVID. So it's not really clear what's happening, but it is clear that many officers, including the president of the Fraternal Order of Police, John Cataranza, saw this as a direct insult to them and to their honors and to their ability to pay tribute to Officer French. And it rankled many officers, and it's not clear that Mayor Lightfoot did anything but sort of help the flames grow higher today by creating this sort of question about whether it was COVID related.
So kind of adding on to some of the enmity felt there right now. Speaking of enmity, we did talk about the straw purchase of the gun on last night's show. Well, today the man who admits to buying the gun for his friend that was allegedly used in that killing was released on bond. And Police Superintendent David Brown did not mince words in his reaction to that. He said, "It's an outrage. The decision sets a dangerous precedent that straw purchasers like Danzi are not a danger to society, despite the fact that his alleged actions directly led to the murder of a Chicago police officer and left another in critical condition." Jamel Danzi, obviously the suspect here that is charged with trafficking the weapon. Matt Masterson, why was Danzi released, and what do you make of this reaction?
So he was charged with just a single count of conspiracy to violate federal firearms laws. He wasn't charged in any way in Officer French's actual killing. He wasn't on the scene there. And if he is convicted, he faces no more than 5 years in prison. So this is a much lower level crime than what the two brothers were charged with in state court. This was a federal case. I listened into the detention hearing today for Danzi, and the judge didn't just make this decision on his own. These conditions for release, that he was released without having to pay any money. They were drafted and agreed to by the U.S. attorney and Danzi's own attorney. They discussed this all before. The judge simply read through these conditions, made sure that Danzi understood them, and then he agreed to them. He issued them. So Brown may want to direct more of his anger towards the U.S. attorney's office if he is upset about this for allowing Danzi out without even having to pay any money. Superintendent Brown has obviously made a big deal over this over the last couple of years of firearms traffickers and others getting out of jail pre-trial. And so it's not a surprise necessarily that he was released today. It was a non-violent crime. Again, he wasn't charged in the murder itself. So we'll have to see what else Superintendent Brown has to say about this going forward.
Right. Brown has directed his ire to the state's attorney's office and the Cook County court system for similar complaints. I want to move on to the budget deficit projected at $733 million for the 2022 fiscal year. And I don't think, Heather, even city council members can answer this question right now, but do we know whether that $500 million in borrowing can be paid back with the federal stimulus money that they got? And if not, then what does that do to the budget?
So I had to ask this question not once, but twice to get an answer. And there has been no response from the Biden administration to the city's request to allow them to use this money to pay off that debt. So what the city is going to do is they're going to lay out a path forward, as they said today, basically where they sort of move money around. So they want to use approximately $782 million from that relief package to basically reimburse the city for costs that it incurred during the worst of the pandemic in 2020 and 2021, and then use the city's cash to pay off that debt. So it's sort of a little bit like when your mom gives you a check and you deposit it in your account and then you pay your mortgage. Your mom's not paying your mortgage, but she's certainly helping you not end up in overdraft. So that is the plan right now. But whether it passes the city council, I think, is a very open question at this point.
And city finance leaders must believe that the interest rates are so good right now that they're going to save all this money simply by refinancing a lot of loans. I want to move on to some state news. A downstate attorney has filed suit over Governor J.B. Pritzker's mask mandate for all students, faculty, and staff at Illinois schools. Take a look at what attorney Tom DeVore had to say.
So he took it upon himself to create law because these local bodies were governing in a way that he didn't like. That's what this issue is all about. It's a brand new issue for the court.
Similar lawsuits throughout the pandemic, Amanda, have been tossed out. Does this one stand a chance at a different fate?
Well, so similar, but not the same, which is actually what you just heard DeVore arguing right there, is that yes, he has put forward, been the attorney on various lawsuits when you had businesses fighting restrictions put forward by Governor J.B. Pritzker. But the legal argument there was that the governor continued to make disaster proclamations after 30 days. And the argument was trying to be, hey, 30 days have passed. You can't just sort of continuously and forever claim that there is a disaster without bringing in the legislature. That is a tyrannical sort of behavior, and the executive being a upper branch of government versus a co-equal one. And so that is sort of what is in common with this lawsuit there. A different legal argument, however, that DeVore is pursuing. So as he said, this is a first test for it, but I think we've certainly seen things play out elsewhere that mandates, vaccine requirements are certainly suitable due to the COVID pandemic is very much a disaster and an emergency.
And speaking of things that have played out over and over again, it looks like the Chicago Teachers Union and Chicago Public Schools are again in disagreement about what back to school should look like with COVID protocols. Heather, could this lead to more labor strife, to possible walk-off and a delay in kids going back to class?
I don't think that that's likely at this point. The issue is really over how often teachers and students should be tested, because many students, especially in elementary school and even some in middle school, aren't yet eligible for the vaccine. And there's a lot of talk about whether the city and the union will agree to a vaccine mandate. And for those teachers who aren't vaccinated, how often will they have to be tested? It sounds like the union wants once a week. The city wants to have a little bit more flexibility to say, well, based on conditions, and not have it be a hard and a fast rule. This is just the latest skirmish in the months-long battle between the city and the teachers union over how safe it is to get kids back in schools. We just have a couple of weeks before Chicago students are supposed to go back, so the clock is ticking, as it usually is.
These battles with the teachers union and with the Fraternal Order of Police, between them and the city, they just go on and on and on. But we are glad that you all are here to analyze this and more. And our thanks to Matt, Heather, and Amanda.